recorded live from a porta potty outside Lambeau Field. It's a Photo Happy Hour podcast. Hey, and welcome everybody. I'm your Photo Happy Hour bartender, Michael Mowbray. I'm adding grenadine to top off a photography kitty cocktail of lighting, creativity, and business. Joining me behind the bar are Dan Frievalt and Carl Caylor.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm adding some grenadine to ice cream and making a pink squirrel.
Ooh, fancy.
Fancy after dinner drink.
Heck with the kids. We don't need any kitty cocktails. We're just going to have whiskey without ice. We're going cubeless today.
Exactly. I believe that's what we're all drinking, isn't it? I'm having scotch. You're having whiskey. What are you having, Dan?
I am having whiskey bourbon. Basil Hayden's. I don't know. What's the difference between whiskey and bourbon? I don't really know the difference.
There is a difference.
Please enlighten me.
On where it's made. I believe can bourbon only be made in Kentucky?
Kentucky.
I believe so. And then it also has to be, there's something else with it too. It has to be filtered or how long they age it. Something along the lines of that.
Something about the barrels and something now. We got to go on another tour.
Yeah, I think we need to do some research.
Let's go to Kentucky.
It's called research.
Yeah, Tim Walden can hook us up. He knows the people down there. So yeah, let's do that. We'll call Tim and have him get us a tour.
We can write it off for the podcast.
I was thinking that same exact thing. Yes, we could do. We could do a podcast from there. Yes,
there we go.
I like it.
Right during the taste testing part.
There's a whiskey place a couple of miles from me here. I'm thinking I should go out there. You guys could come down. We could do a podcast from there. It's called J. Henry. It's like a high-end kind of crafty distillery whiskey thingy. It's actually pretty good.
I think I went by that one time heading to your place. Yeah.
It's out in the middle of nowhere, that's for sure.
There's also a big cow. Wait a minute, dinosaur. What is that? What is that pink thing over there?
Okay. So here's how you get to the place. You take the exit by the pink elephant, okay?
Oh, yeah.
And then you take the first right after the giant cow. And then you take a left at the giant chicken. And then you go about 3 blocks, and that's where you can find me.
That chicken scares me.
If you get to the green dinosaur, you went too far.
That's right. But you can get gas there. So that's good.
Yes. You might need to fuel up.
So if you're joining us for the first time here, the premise of the show is we are 3 professional photographers who've been around for a little bit. And what we do is we drink and we talk about photography. And the more we drink, the more intelligent we become. So we'll see if you agree.
Today we got a head start. So
we got a head start today. So we're just freaking intelligent today. So we also have a topic every week. And the topic this week is we're going to talk about our favorite software and apps. So maybe you can pick up some tips on stuff that we like to use. And if I remember, I'll put in links when we post the podcast. I'll put in links to some of the software we mentioned. So anybody want to go first?
Well, favorites? I mean, some of my favorite apps are chicken wings, mozzarella sticks, tuna bites,
calamari.
Mushrooms.
Oh yeah, mushrooms.
Mushrooms.
Well, anything deep fried. Cheese curds were from Wisconsin, so yes.
Potato skins.
Bloomin' onion.
T-bones.
Oh yeah. Oh, bloomin' onion would be really good right now.
Oh yeah. Ribeye appetizers, good stuff.
I'm kind of wondering, maybe I'm going to call Outback and do a little takeout.
Yes, we shouldn't have done this so close to,
Yeah, because I don't have any of those places around me.
Now I'm hungry.
I got to drive 100 miles to get to somewhere to have a takeout from Roadhouse.
Well, you guys have a Dairy Queen nearby, don't you?
No. Oh, actually, we do have a Dairy Queen. I'm not sure it's open right now, but...
Oh, is it seasonal?
It's open 2 days a year up there by Carl.
July 5th and 6th,
July 7th, closed down for the winter.
Closed for the winter.
So, favorite software? I don't know. What's your favorite software for processing images? I mean, let's just leave Photoshop out of here because everybody uses Photoshop.
You mean converting from RAW?
Yes.
Okay. Capture One has become my new favorite. I don't know, but I think you guys all use Capture One now too, right?
I think we talked you into using Capture One, so truth be told.
Might have been. It might have been, yeah. It's been phenomenal. When I was a Canon person, actually, let's step back a step. When I was a Kodak person, we had to use, or what they were pushing us to use their software, and it was all right at the time. And then Canon, we used Digital Photo Professional, which, if you are a Canon person, that's still a great software for Canon. There's no doubt about it. It is made for Canon by Canon, and nothing else is going to come. It's going to compare to it fully. That being said, we have found that Capture One, especially with us changing to Sony, has been absolutely incredible. And I have to imagine that it would be incredible for the other Nikons and Canon people of the world as well, I'd assume. So
I would tend to think so. It's amazing because I was using Lightroom before, and when I switched to Sony, I didn't really like the files coming through there. So Dan, you might have mentioned it, or it was Craig Stidham, or somebody was talking about it. And I'm like, I'll get the trial in. Night and day difference. Just even bringing the RAW into it on how it looked, Capture One versus Lightroom, way different.
Yeah, I think because I was the early adapter to Sony before you guys, I was having some color issues, and all the research I did said Capture One, but I was in the heat of my season, so I didn't want to switch. And I think, Michael, you actually pulled the trigger and switched and said, "Oh yeah, this is awesome." So I'm like, okay, I'll pull the trigger and switch. And it's a little bit of a learning curve, but there's great video tutorials for free out there. It is similar to Lightroom once you get used to the menus, but there's a ton more control and the color. And I think Craig is Nikon. He's not Sony.
I think, he's Nikon.
I think you're right. I think he's Nikon.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of great videos on it.
I used to think he was a great guy, but then I found out he shoots Nikon. So
it doesn't make him a bad person. No, come on.
That's true. One bad choice does not make you a bad person.
And he knows a lot about baseball, so
he does.
He does. He better.
No, one of the things I like about Capture One as well is that you can do layers in Capture One. Mm-hmm. So you're working with your RAW, and I do a lot of dodge and burn in Capture One because I can do it with my RAW and I can do it on a separate layer. And I can, you can easily paint in and mask on these other layers. You can do skin adjustments on one layer. You can do dodge and burn on another layer. You can do vignetting if you want to do vignetting, or a gradient or anything like that. So there's a lot of stuff you can do in Capture One that I prefer to do it there because I'm not doing high volume. I'm not trying to process 2,000 wedding images. I'm pulling a handful of images from a session. To me, it's a lot easier to do it in Capture One and then do the final retouch in Photoshop. You
know what though? The conversions are fast. I mean, on mine anyhow. So if you have 150, 180, whatever raw files, and you do all your little tweaks and you hit batch process go, it's so much faster than what I was used to with my Canon software. I mean, and I thought that was fast. Everything's faster than that. But
yes.
But I mean, even compared to Lightroom, I mean, it's amazing how quick it is. And of course, that's on a souped up iMac that I got. But I assume you guys have the same.
Well, you guys weren't really doing the kind of weddings I was doing either, at least not the volume. When I was using Lightroom for weddings, I actually had a MIDI board, like a MIDI audio board with the sliders and different buttons programmed to different Lightroom things. Because, if I'm going through with a second shooter, there's some weddings I was going through 3,000 images, and I didn't want to be spending a couple of days. I could go through 3,000 images, cull, and do adjustments in half a day.
Yeah, and Michael and I both were big users of the RPG keys.
Yeah.
Until they weren't
died.
They died, and it's sad because they just couldn't keep up with being a third party provider. They just couldn't keep up with when Lightroom would come out with a new software. They wouldn't let anyone know, and they would change a bunch of things, and then it would take them a month or two to figure out the coding to go with the new software, and especially when things went to the Creative Cloud where things were updating like every couple minutes, it seemed. They just weren't able to keep up, and that was, I still have mine in my box of cords that are sitting in the basement.
Yeah.
That I'm not going to throw out because you never know. I might need that Cat 5 cable or that Firewire from, or that floppy disk from 1989.
Yeah, I think I have two of the RPG keyboards. I had the small one, and then I got the big one too. So that was probably, oh man, I don't even want to think about how much I spent on that stuff. That was probably $800 right there.
Wow.
500 for one, 300 for the other. I want to guess that was discounted price.
Yeah, but it was great. Like you could just fly through edits, and then you could program it to do actions in Photoshop. I mean, but having said that, I switched a couple of years ago to the Logitech keyboard, extended keyboard. It's a gamer keyboard. It doesn't quite work as well in Capture One. I was hoping it would be able to, because you can program some micros in there. It kind of works, but it does work nice in Photoshop if you have a lot of actions and stuff, which I do. And when I say actions, it's not necessarily effects. It's things that I do over and over again. So I make an action for anything that I do repetitively, which means like when I make my montages, it's like a certain process. I can just hit a button and it does a certain amount of steps. I do something, I hit another button, it does a couple more steps. And even just a simple action as far as saying, let's say I retouch an image, I just hit one button, it saves that image, closes the file, and brings me back to Bridge, where then I can open up another file, which, you know, when you're doing a lot of images over and over again, it does save time. Instead of just hitting Command S, Command W, and then Command H to hide, and then I'm back in Bridge. It's just like I hit one button and it does all that. So those kind of little things.
How did it do that again?
It actually goes, yeah, it makes that noise. Yeah. Just like that. Well,
I don't even have one.
Actually, you have to buy my action to get the sound effect. Only $19.95 you can get my action. It includes the sound effects.
See, I can't do that. Not at all.
It's from rolling your R's from, you know, it's
I know.
Learning Spanish. It's all my trips to Mexico. That's all I've picked up. Cerveza and
So I can never roll my R's, so I always sucked in Spanish. I quit taking that. And yet I have a daughter who's graduated with a major in Spanish, second major in Spanish, in addition to like public health. So, yeah. I don't know. She must have got it from Lisa.
I was thinking that. I was holding back. I was being nice today.
Why start today?
Why start today? So yeah, Capture One. I love Capture One as far as Photoshop plugins. I was just doing a one-on-one mentoring session, and I was pulling up some images, and the person was like, "What's that? How'd you get that effect?" I'm like, "Oh, that's the flood filter." And that's
geez,
you know, yeah, the flood filter has been around forever. I kind of like with any of these plugins or whatever, they go through phases or through trends maybe, but the flood filter, man, I brought that baby back. Like I'd never let that die. That thing is so it's like a $20 or $30 little filter, and it just does a great job, especially if you want to do. If you don't want to have to worry about so much perspective or shadowing on a composite, I just throw the flood filter on and boom, it looks good. And I've got a lot of loans and merits using the flood filter. So
really,
oh yeah,
wow.
Nice.
I can't find mine. Mine disappeared on me. I don't know what the heck.
It floated away.
I did some digging and it's actually loaded on the computer I'm using right now, but I bet you it's at least 10 years old.
Oh yeah,
at least 10 years old from Flaming Pear, right?
Flaming Pear.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you go to change operating systems and or versions of Photoshop, I must have lost it along the way. So I got to go back to. I might have to dig on some of the old computers and see if it's on the old software, so I can pull it and save it aside or something. But
you might have to spend that $24.99 again.
Can you even buy it though?
Yeah, you can. Oh yeah.
Oh, can you? Oh.
Yeah, I bought it not that long ago again because that's what stinks about this whole, upgrading and everything. It's like, okay, now and then we can talk about this too, is like the Nik software, which went from Nik to Google to DxO. It's like every time first I paid for it, for part of it, and then they gave everything for free. I'm like, all right, I get it all for free. And then Google came out and it was free for everyone. And then Google stopped supporting it. So it went to DxO. And then now that I'm on Photoshop 2020, I have to buy it again.
Yeah.
So it's just like for the longest time, I was running on 2017 because it had everything I needed. I didn't need to upgrade. And then whenever you upgrade, it's like, oh, now my driver software for the tablet, Wacom tablet, isn't working, which again, that could be somewhat of an app in a sense. I think it's an essential tool using a tablet.
Oh, I agree.
And the hardest thing is a lot of people, I just posted this in Seniors Unlock a couple of weeks ago. I was like, hey, I have these videos to set it up. And you always get all these comments like, yeah, I have mine sitting in a box for 2 years. I haven't
People buy it and then they don't use it. And it's one of those things you just have to set the mouse aside and just force yourself to use it for a couple of days. And after that, I couldn't imagine using a mouse to retouch.
Can't stand using a mouse for anything at all.
Well, I will still have a mouse there, and I'll use it for all my menu stuff. And I like it because it just I get to move my arm in different ways and change my grip and stuff, But yeah, exactly. Yeah, I do the same thing.
You can't see it, but I have the tablet or the pen in one hand when I'm retouching, but when I navigate, I grab the mouse and navigate because the double click with the pen and navigating, I'll move a folder. I'm like, whoa, where did that just go? So
Yep.
I think what a lot of people do is in the industry, we say, you got to use a tablet. So people go 100% tablet. And I tell them in like some training videos, and I'll put a link in here too for the free videos and on the training. But it's like, no, I use the tablet, but then when I navigate, I still use the mouse. But like Michael said, when I had employees, I would take the mouse away from them and throw it in a drawer. I'm like, you have 2 days. You have to force yourself. And I had to do that to myself too. It's almost like learning to write left-handed if you're right-handed. It takes a while. It's cumbersome, but once you get used to it, like if I'm teaching or whatever, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to have a tablet, so it's like I always, especially with the retouching, it's just you can move so much faster with it.
I want to say it was Darton who said this, or it was Darton who did this, but who said not using a Wacom and using your mouse is kind of like painting with a potato. You know what? Darton used to use a mouse. That's what it was.
Is that what it was? I have heard the potato or a rock thing before. Yeah.
Yeah.
That might have been Woody too, because I think Woody was using a mouse forever.
Yeah, I think he was too.
Richard, like,
I think he slapped him. I think he actually slapped him. I want to believe that he actually slapped him.
So I remember Woody was at Wisconsin one year, and he was up on stage showing us, clipping paths and stuff like that, extracting somebody. And Richard was at Wisconsin too. He was standing back in the back of the room with me, and he's like, "How the hell is he doing this with that stupid ass mouse?" I could be wrong, but it was quite a while ago. But I'm thinking it was Richard.
No, I think I remember that year too. Yeah. Actually, that wasn't that long ago, was it?
Oh yeah, it was a long time ago. If he's using clipping paths, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably 8-10 years ago at this point.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, that's when
we're getting old, dude.
You did. That was your convention, Carl, when it was out when it was at the Radisson in Green Bay. Woody was there
because it might have been my convention, but not the year I was convention chair. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was the year I was president. Yeah. That was in 2001.
Yeah.
Or no. You know what? No, I gotta remember. I don't remember what.
That wasn't that long ago.
Oh, I'm gonna go look at the plaque. I'll be right back.
You just want to get another drink.
So, when we're talking about flaming pear and flood, made me think of another old software that's been around for a long time, but I think is really good. Is alien skin exposure X, and I just actually upgraded to X5. It's pretty cool. What it's for, we'll edit out that door clunk from Carl. Nah, we'll leave it in. What the hell?
The door almost took me out there.
I saw that.
That was in 2009, 2010.
Okay, well, maybe.
So it would have been January
10, 11 years ago.
February of 2010. Holy cow.
That's crazy.
It's 10 years ago.
Anyway, we're talking about, thank you for joining us. We're talking about Alien Skin Exposure X. And I don't know if do you use that?
I do. I got a version of Alien Skin, and it is pretty cool. It has a lot of features in it. I should look at the upgrade, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
One of the things I noticed with the upgrade, because I've been using regular X for, I don't know, 3-4 years, is that now you have masking. Yeah.
Masking?
Wakanda forever. No, but you can mask within it too. So I did a, I don't know if you guys saw the black and whites I posted the other day from a beauty session. And, they have a lot of different black and white film emulations. So, so you can go back and they're pretty damn close to what I remember if you're shooting, Ilford or if you were shooting T-Max or whatever else. They look pretty damn close. And then where I saw some blacks plugging up, I could go in on a layer mask within Exposure X and just paint a little bit more exposure in. And it looked really good. It was nice. I like being able to do that stuff within the actual software, within the app, rather than pulling it back into Photoshop and then doing all that other stuff. But if you like film emulation, there's a lot of cross-processing, a lot of different processing looks, some old vintage looks. There's things that you can mix together. I think Exposure X5 is pretty cool. And then they include blow up with it. There's like a bundle that includes blow up. So if you ever need to take a file size way big, and then what's the other one? Snap Art, which I've never found much use for, but hey, it's included for free for like $99 for an upgrade, I think is what it cost me.
Hey, let's go back to Nick for a minute.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, because Silver FX and Viveza and all that stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know, you guys probably don't remember this, but I was part of the Nick Pro team back in the day.
I remember that.
And
way back in the day. Do you have a plaque for that too? Do you want to go back and check that?
I actually do. It was that was a great software. I mean, and it still is. I mean, I was so happy that DxO picked it up, and it lets us continue, especially for the black and white, the silver effects. That is absolutely wonderful. But
yes,
like you mentioned with the films, if you wanted to make it look more like films, Nick has same effects too. I mean, you can go through and make something look like Tri-X or T-Max 3200 or whatever you want. The Ilfords, the Agfas, all of it is in there, and you can cross-process, and it's, wherever your mind wants to take you. But a lot of it is kind of weird, and it's like not a lot of practical use to it. It's fun, but there's not a lot of practical use. But the silver effects, absolutely practical. Yeah. And my favorite in the color effects is the Indian summer.
Sure.
Because up here by us, we have great fall colors, but we have a very short fall season where it's not snowing or blowing the people all over the place. And everybody wants fall colors. And so we can change all the greenery. So by the end of June, I can start doing fall pictures because of summer, Indian summer in DxO. It's great. Now,
So Dairy Queen closes on the 7th, and Carl starts his fall portrait special
in June.
Absolutely. Welcome to the UP,
Oh, I totally agree. I've used Indian Summer we've got a big 30 by 40 canvas of our family that we shot before fall colors were peak because, you're a photographer, you're working during fall colors, you don't have time to shoot your own stuff, so we shot a little early. And used Indian Summer to convert the leaves over. And what it does is takes those greens, and you can control what level of orange or yellow or whatever they turn into. Reds, and it looks great. I mean, it holds up to a 30 by 40. That's my standard. that looks pretty good.
It looks really good. And the thing is that like any action or plugin or effect, use it customly. I mean, don't just use it out of the box and press a button and say, oh, it's good, or it's bad, it doesn't work. I'll use different layers, like Mike was talking about layers in Capture One before. In DxO, I'll run several layers of Indian Summer, a red layer, an orange layer, a yellow layer, and then stack them in Photoshop and paint them back where you want. So it looks more like fall, because pressing the button once, it makes everything colorful, but it's all the same colorful and it's not realistic.
Including the pine trees.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the grass, the grass on. So you're walking on red grass and
and the green shirt that grandma had on.
Yeah. That's right. So, you gotta use a little common sense with these filters. And I kind of say the same thing with, one of my biggest pet peeves is the next plugin that I'd probably want to address is portraiture, or like your alien skin, things like that. When we're doing the skin softening, please, for the love of all things in focus, don't make plastic skin. Just
no kidding.
Yeah.
Use it on a new layer and paint it back where you need it, or in small opacities so that it does the job without getting porcelain dollish. That's our new term of the day.
On that note, I'm going to recommend, or at least something I use that's going to be controversial. And I know I've talked to you guys about this before. Yeah. It's Portrait Professional or Portrait Pro, which, if you just let it do its thing, it's absolutely horribly scary. But what it does is it maps out, it uses facial recognition software and maps out the face. And you can go in and do some really high level, I wish you guys could see video right now, because these guys are distorting their faces. It does. You could resculpt the face. You can do skin softening. You have to. The caveat I put in there with it, you have to go in and really reset everything. You can't let it go default. Although the newest version, the default isn't horrible. Back in the early day when this thing started, you hit it and somebody would come back and it'd be an entirely different person.
It would be. Yes.
Scary.
Or you can turn the facial,
the sculpting off.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And the eyes and the nose and the lips.
Right. What I use it for is I actually will go through all those different controls and reset them, and then I'll save presets for them. But I use it when I want what I call a commercial retouch or a more commercial look. So for the stuff I'm doing for MoLight, or the stuff I'm doing for beauty and things like that, and sometimes for headshots as well, I think it works really well, because if you need a little extra makeup on somebody, you can do that. You need to go in and contour a little bit. You can do that, and you don't get that in some of the other. You don't get that in some of the other software.
Sorry, I bumped the mic here. I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding out.
Use your belt, man. Use your belt.
I need a. Yes, and Michael, you brought up a good point. Either in Portrait Professional or in Alien Skin, and even in the Nik or DxO software, what I love to do is I'll create recipes, and you can save them, so you can take a multitude of different effects and create your own look or your own style, instead of just maybe hitting an action or a preset that kind of looks like everyone else. You can save them and create different kind of presets that have somewhat your own flair.
Exactly.
Without having to do like a bunch of layers and curves and levels and all these things in Photoshop, which you could also get, but they just make it a lot easier.
Speaking of flares, there's this Frievalt flares thing that we use.
Yeah, I dig really that.
Is that considered a plugin?
Absolutely it is.
All right. Sure. Well,
yeah, now we're talking.
I got a deal for you.
No, those are fun. But the thing is, it's just like anything else. And that's the beauty of like your flares and your cloths, your fabrics and flying fabrics. Did I say it right? Yeah.
Sure.
Is that, and the same thing we're just starting to say with Nik and the portraiture, is that don't do it by a press of a button. Find out your recipes and your the things that you like for you, because otherwise your images are going to look like everybody else's, and then what's the point? You know, you want to be custom, quote unquote. So, but that's the cool thing about your flares, is that you put it in there and you bend it around and you make your own thing out of it with what you had to start with. So you got a base, but you can work with it. I think that's the really cool part about those, your flares and your fabrics and stuff.
I'm going to guess, Dan, that maybe, just possibly, and correct me if I'm wrong, you might have videos that show how to do that with your flares and your fabric and stuff like that.
I do. That is the beauty of when you purchase my overlays, is I also include videos and show you how to use them. But along with those same lines is I could have made actions that would have a similar effect and different things that would be easier. And there are things out there that are like that it's like a press of a button and easy. But like what you said, Carl, I didn't want to do that because I don't want everyone to look the same, everything to look the same. I'm hitting something. I just think then it's an Instagram filter. You know, I want to teach you and use some of your own creativity. It's okay to emulate what I do. I don't have a problem. I don't care if you copy it completely, because I feel like learning it and starting to copy, that's how we learn. And then what's going to happen is you're going to start to develop your own style. Once you learn, you have to learn first, and then you can veer off into your own direction. But I don't want to just like have a one button thing. I want to give you a bunch of different overlays and say, okay, how would you apply this? And I'm going to show how I apply it, and you can do something similar, but then now take it to the next level. It's kind of like, you know, how Zio was saying, like, feed a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. And teach him how to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. Did I say that right?
Or move to Wisconsin and just get fish fry.
Yes.
No, we're going to Dave's boat, man. We got to do that yet.
Ooh.
I see he's catching more walleye again, that looked good.
Yeah, but you can't eat those walleye that you catch here on the.
Good God.
It's the PCBs are in them from the paper mills.
It's easier. It's much more easier to catch them though, because you can see them. They're kind of like glowing as they're swimming around there.
Yeah.
There's another one.
There's one.
Makes spear fishing a little easier when you can see them like 20 feet below the surface.
Yeah. There's warming, or the hot water or the cold water intakes and outtakes from the factories down there go in and out of the river. My brother used to be a diver, and he used to inspect some of those pipes. In fact, he crawled through some of those pipes before. And
ooh, that's scary.
He said you wouldn't believe the size of some of the fish that hang out right in the end of that pipe, because little fish, it gets all warm water coming out. So the fish like it there. And what are we talking about again? I'm sure we got up on a tangent here. But
I think we're talking about fish, weren't we? Okay. Yeah. Radiation. I don't know.
Talking about a certain plug-in bobber that you use when you troll and you fish.
You'll be able to feed them forever. That's the one. Yeah.
That's the one.
Here's an interesting software. Set a Light 3D. Did you guys ever pick that up?
I did not.
No, I almost did. When I was doing my videos for the SU Insiders.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It looks cool.
I ended up picking it up, and let me tell you what it is. Satellite 3D is a software that it's basically 3D modeling software that you can go in and choose the light source that you have, what kind of strobe or what kind of LED it is, and what kind of modifier, whether it's a reflector or it's a 48-inch octabox or a V-flat or whatever, and then you can move these back and forth, and it changes the lighting on your model, and it's got all these different kinds of models and different poses, so you can pre-visualize what your lighting setup would be. You can gel the lights to see what gel would look like, and it does a really good job. One of the reasons why I picked it up, one of the things that I thought was really cool with it, is when I came out with my Mojector, which is basically a light blaster. If anybody's ever used a light blaster, it's a little device that you can put a speed light in. You drop in a 35 millimeter slide. You put a lens on one side, and you can project images on the background. And you wanted to see what that's going to look like ahead of time. I can drop all my different Mojector backgrounds into the software, and it's got this built in. It'll show what it looks like on the background. It's actually really cool. And I don't remember it being that expensive, although
No, it's not too bad.
I buy a lot of stuff. So as long as it's under $150, I'm like, yeah, what the hell? We'll try that.
Which by the way, we're not sponsored by any of these companies. Is that correct that we've mentioned so far? I mean, my flares, of course, are mine, but
I don't work with Nick anymore. I mean, DxO.
No.
But
yeah.
We're not getting a piece of any of this business. Damn it!
It's just what we use.
But if you're listening and you want to throw some stuff our way, I mean, I'm not going to turn you away.
We're going to set up a Venmo account. Photo Happy Hour at Venmo.
But let's address that real quickly, because me personally, at least, I don't endorse any product unless I use it. I actually use it. And there's times when people offer me things for free, and I'll test it out. But I will not just take anything and promote it because I want to be a person that uses it, first of all. And a lot of times I'll use things, lights or softwares or plugins first, and then maybe later someone will give me a referral code. And even that, like the referral code might just be so they can track. It's not like I'm getting a kickback. So I guess what I'm saying is sometimes when you hear certain people in the industry tout a certain product or whatever.
Should we name names?
No, we don't. No name names.
But they're out there.
They're out there.
Yeah, or just kind of like, are they really that excited about it, or are they that excited because they got it for free? They're like, here's a bunch of stuff, so talk about it because you're an influencer in the community. And us three, I know we're very not that type of people.
Not at all. No. Well, no, I carry that through even on the stuff I carry at MoLight. This is turning into an ad for MoLight. But no, seriously, everything I carry from MoLight, I get in samples first from my different manufacturers, from Godox or Golden Eagle or the folks who make my soft boxes, and I test them. And then once I test them, and if I like them and it's something I feel I would use or other professionals would see value in, I carry it. Otherwise, I don't. I've rejected a lot of products. Godox yells at me because they're like, why don't you carry any of the Godox soft boxes? And I finally said, because I don't like your soft boxes. Like, what? How do you not like our soft boxes? It's like, well, because I found other manufacturers who do it better, and yours didn't meet my standards. So everything that's in the MoLight store is stuff I either actually use or will use or have used, and it meets my standard.
Well, and that's those of you that have had my class before, workshops or whatever, you kind of know. I tell things that I use as well. I mean, I talk about how I use them, why I use them, the good and the bad. So I don't hold back. I mean, if there's something I don't like about something, even if it's something I use and like, there's always things that aren't perfect in everything that we have, and the products we use and the software that we use, and that's okay to talk about that too, because maybe we're finding ways around, or workarounds and things like that could help people out. So if it's something that's not the best for a manufacturer, am I still going to talk about it? Yeah, because let's address it. Let's make a pro out of it instead of having it be a double negative. So that makes sense. Double negative.
I don't know. Sure, yeah, we'll go with that.
You know what?
Hey,
cheers. Yeah, cheers. It's time to drink. Cheers.
It's time to drink.
Actually, on that, let's just take a real quick break, and we'll be right back after this.
To succeed in anything, you need a good coach, one that can evaluate your own work with professional advice as to how to improve. Coach Carl at Carl's Coaching Corner gets to know your photography so that he can structure a custom learning platform that is ideal for you and your art. Check it out at ccphotocoach.com. That's ccphotocoach.com.
And we're back. So we're talking about our favorite software and apps, things that we use, some things that are pretty common, some things that aren't. Carl, I think you're going to bring up something I think we all use.
I'll bring up a fun one. I use Fundy. It's a software to design albums and books, and amongst other things, I know they have magazines. I was going to watch Michael fall over backwards in his chair there, but I wish you guys could have seen that. But anyway, Fundy is a great time saver for those of us that sell albums to our high school seniors. And it's so simple. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I can have an album designed in 8-10 minutes or less.
Oh, five.
Yeah. But I mean, I just sort through and make sure everything's right and every size stuff, and then put backgrounds on and all that kind of good stuff. But it's so cool.
Oh, you get fancy with it.
I do.
I'm like, auto design.
They have auto design. Yes.
That looks pretty good. I might change this one. Done.
I told Andrew at Imaging that your software is so great to design albums. It almost has me willing to shoot weddings again. Because I know he's
almost.
Like, wow. I'm like, yeah, because you could design a wedding album with auto design in seconds, and it looks beautiful.
Don't tell my last client, but I did that too with theirs. I mean, seniors. I spent more. Honest to goodness, I spent more time with my senior albums than I did on that wedding album.
Sure.
Throw them in there.
There's nothing wrong with that, because for me, who I've done hundreds and hundreds of weddings, and I used to have to hand design them when I first started, and then I got the software from Yervant.
Yes, I use Yervant.
Page Gallery, which was pretty good. I used that for quite a bit, and then I'm trying to remember what I did after that. I did something else after that, and then started using Fundy. Yeah, I never did. I always did them. And Fundy, and especially the current version of Fundy, the auto design, and then being able to go through and just kind of you can keep recycling it and try different things. It's like, well, that's perfect. And I think you can get a wedding album at least 80% done just on auto design. Oh, yes. And then you just have to go in and just reshuffle things. Like, well, that shouldn't be the big image. Why are they showing a big image of the shoes? It needs to be the big image of, the bride putting the dress on, whatever. But, oh my gosh, it took something that used to take half a day when I was doing it by hand a day. And you could do it in less than an hour easily. Easily.
I was going to say, and don't quote me on this, but I think if you go in and do a heart, tag certain images with the heart, those images will be your larger images. Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Is that true, Carl? Do you do that? Okay. I've done that, and And I don't do the auto design with the senior because I only have 30 to 40 images. But if I grab 3 images and slide them into the page, if I have an image that has the heart symbol on it, that will be the wow highlight image, the highlight image. Yeah. Wow. And then you can scroll through the different ones on that page, and then you go to the next page and the next, kind of follow down. So when I pull all the images in, I'll go through and be like, oh, these are my favorites, these 10, and I'll do the heart on them.
You know what we should do, just as an aside here? I'll do this. I'll shoot Fundy a message. He'll probably give us a discount code for some.
I actually have a discount. Do you have one? I do have one. Yeah.
Then just post that.
And again, it's one of those things that I talked to Andrew and said, I love your software. I don't get a kickback from doing a discount code. I'm just like, hey, I want to help support you. You're a small business. You're, same thing with my photo app, which we didn't talk about yet, but
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Or like PhotoBiz. There's a lot of these companies that it doesn't matter if you're an influencer or not, or if everyone gets a discount code to help. Mm-hmm. It's called viral marketing. It's, it's like if you use my code, you get say a month free or $25 off your membership or whatever. A lot of companies are now doing that, where if you help promote them, if you believe in them, they're going to give you some kind of kickback. It doesn't matter who you are, because your strength in numbers is what, you're helping marketing them. It's grassroots guerrilla marketing.
It's building your tribe.
Darn right.
And we've talked about that, and we'll probably talk about that again in a podcast, is, building a tribe. So people who are not only customers but are fans. And fans are the people who are going to cheerlead for you, and they're going to go out and tell everybody else about that. And that's kind of what we're doing here today, is we're cheerleading for software that we use, that we believe in, that has shown value, has made us money far more than what we invested into the software. And Fundy is one of those things, Just
another little fun thing with Fundy. Again, like we mentioned, anything that I use, we don't use it exactly the way that they are intending it to be used.
Yeah.
And Fundy allows me to, you can go in and you can make a custom size album or custom size pages. So I'll make a custom size page for my proof boards, and it's one of the products that I sell here for those that don't want to go with an album design. They want to keep things a little bit economical or whatever. So they'll pick 8 or 11 images, or 8 to 11 images, and it goes on a 12 by 24 board. So I'll set up 12 by 24 page, throw their images on there, and it produces a board for me. White House prints a 12 by 24. It's mounted, it's delivered, and it takes seconds with Fundy. I've actually used them for my display boards in my gallery. Big ones. I dumped like 150 images on a 75 by 44 or 2 of them to make to cover the glass in my gallery down at the mall. And Andrew, all he had to do, he had to quick do an override for me because it was too large for their system. But it worked. And once he,
but they'll do it.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of having a small business, a guy like Andrew, where I can send him a message and he's like, yeah, I'll do that, the kind of customize things. Yeah. I've used that too, Carl, for like handouts. When I do speaking engagements, it's, you can plop a bunch of images in, and they do all different sizes. And it's originally set up for either a print or for blogging, and that's the one thing I want to get back into. I know we're getting on a tangent here, but more blogging and blog posts for SEO. We talked about that last week, a little bit SEO.
Yeah, I've done that forever.
Yeah. So it allows you to create these really cool blog images, or these images with multiple images that you can put on your blog, so people can't just steal an image either. It's a canvas with different images. Yeah,
exactly.
And I've used that same software to create handouts when I speak, because it's got these cool different sizes of images, or you can do it for direct mail. If you want to do a postcard, you just plug in the size, boom, boom, boom. To do that in Photoshop would take me like a few hours, and I can do it in seconds.
You can also do for, people who are doing seniors, or really actually any other portraiture, you can do magazines. So that's one of the things I'm actually going to work on this coming week. And this is the way I work, because I finally got a senior booking the other, was it this morning or yesterday? I had somebody call, and I'm like, oh, wow, really? Okay. I guess it's senior season now. I guess I should do my magazine and my pricing and my update, because somebody actually contacted me. I do that every year, because I'm like, I'll do that in January. I'll be way ahead of the games. Like, I'll wait till somebody contacts me. So, but yeah, I'm going to be working on my senior magazine and updating my website. And I probably will use Fundy for some of those kind of collagey kind of, quick kind of things. So there's a lot of other features with that I don't know that everybody even uses. And they've got a feature in there, or a part of the software that I think you have to invest in, that you can use it for in-person selling. So if you want to show gallery and have people pick stuff, and then you want to show it on the wall, like a simulation of this image on the wall of their home, you can do that with Fundy. So there's a lot of different things that it can do. So I like software that can do a lot more than one thing. There's nice to have a little unique software that can do unique little things, but it's nice to have something that can do a lot of different things, so you can get the true value out of it.
And image brander, if you just want to have a logo on your image, or have it cropped to square with, image on the outside with the logo. If you want to do Instagram, like I'll do all my my images I put on my photo app, I'll just drag them all in there, and they're the same images that I'm using for the album, so they're in there anyways, which is kind of nice. And then I just click one button and it throws my logo in the corner of every image, and I export that out, and that's what I put into my photo app,
which you should talk about next.
We should talk about next, yes. And one thing I wanted to mention, which I wrote down here so I wouldn't forget, is a lot of these softwares and plugins are like having another employee. And, you know, Michael, you kind of reminded me of this. It's like things that we like, or it saves us time. Well, I used to have employees and stuff, and now there's a lot of software that helps us do these things much faster, which we can, you know, eliminate having to have an employee. Especially for me personally, I'm seasonal, so it was always hard to always have someone on full time year round. Sure, in the summer we have tons of work to do, and then also in the winter it's like I don't have as much for them to do. So having you know, software that can help with this to design albums, that's something a employee would normally do. Portraiture retouching or outsourcing retouching, or, you know, all these different things can help us be more efficient, which could eliminate an employee.
That sounds a little heartless, actually.
It does sound very heartless. I was thinking that. That's why I'm trying to say, like, well, it's seasonal. Like, oh, we don't need an employee.
You're trying to justify it. You know.
Yes.
Screw the employees.
We don't need no sticking employees.
Robots can do this job.
Anyone can do your job.
Although we literally have joked about, man, wouldn't it be great if we could get a drone that could just follow a senior around and take their photos, and we could just sit back at the office and just kind of control it.
Yes. And by the way, I filled up my glass when we took our break. It's empty again, but it said bourbon whiskey. So no wonder why I was confused. It said
it was bourbon whiskey.
It was bourbon whiskey. Wow, come on.
What kind of bourbon whiskey was that?
Basil Hayden's bourbon whiskey.
Oh, I've heard of that. See, I'm not a bourbon guy. I mean, we've talked about this before. I'm a Scotch guy, and it's a different flavor than a whole flavor tasty thing.
Yeah, because you go from bourbon whiskey to having good taste to Scotch tasting like Band-Aids or Ambisol or something.
I like a good Scotch where, you know, it feels like you've licked the ground of Scotland, and then, you know, been kissed a cow.
So my photo app.
Photo app.
My photo app. Take it away, Carl.
No, I don't. This is yours. I don't use my photo app.
You use it more than either of us.
I was an early adapter of my photo app. I was like so gung ho when it came out, and that had to be like at least 8 years ago, and it's still so popular. In fact, last night I got an Instagram message from a senior that said, I love this image. I have it in my album, but I don't have it in my app. Would you add it for me? I'm like, absolutely, I'll add it for you. Generally, there's different tiers where they get more images, but I'm like, I'll absolutely add it, because she's doing a testimonial for me, in fact, as well. So it's like, heck yeah, I'll do it. And but my photo app is great. It's easy to use. The kids love it because they're sharing images on their phone. You can download images, put it on Instagram. And I'm going to be very clear about this, is that they don't get this app just for free. It's something that's an incentive item. They have to invest at least $2,500 with me, for instance, because yes, they can download the images. Yes, they could even screenshot the images if you have it set up not to download. But there's so many things you can do with it. I even set up for my Instagram like a homepage. So for instance, Instagram, when you go to the profile, you can only have one link. So let's say you forget to change that link, or let's say you just have it to your website, but let's say you want to customize it, which I have. So instead of just having a link that goes to my website, I have it that has either the special I'm running or to Seniors Unlocked. So different things. So when you go,
it's kind of like a landing page you're using it as.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like a landing page.
That's a good idea. You're smarter than you look.
Sometimes.
Brainiac people.
Brainiac. Yeah, so if you click on my profile link, it's going to take you to a landing page that has. I'm trying to do it now. Of course,
but we can't.
I've seen the one that you use, and it's basically your price guide. And you build that in my photo app. And maybe we need to take a half step back so people understand what we're talking about. My photo app, and there's another one called Sticky Albums, which I started with, and I switched to my photo app because I think it's got a lot more features to it. It's basically an app that your customers can download on their phone or their iPad, or they can view it on their computer, and it's the answer to, I want digital images. So, I'll give you digital images for social media. You've got this app that I'll create. It's a custom app. You can share it with whoever you want. In my photo app, you can share images directly from the app to Facebook. You can share them to Twitter. You can't do it directly to Instagram. You end up having to download it. But it's the answer to, I want digital images. Well, you can give them low res, possibly logo or watermarked images. Not everybody does a watermark on it. I even vary. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But it's the answer to that, and it's relatively inexpensive. Then you can use, like Dan was talking about, you can use it as a landing page. You can use it for your price guide. There's so many different options for it. And it's like, for the pro level, I think I'm paying $39 a month, something like that. But they also have a referral code in there. If you have somebody you refer to them, they'll give you a month free or 2 months free or something like that. So there's a lot, but to me, it's well worth the price. It's definitely well worth the price. Very easy to use too.
Yeah, very easy. And I've also used it to build apps for other companies. So you have several, I think 10 or maybe it's 50. It's crazy amount of other brands that you can do with it. So I have my Frievalt Photography brand and my Seniors Unlocked brand. I've done brands for realtors. I did a trade out here with someone who did some painting because I hate the paint as far as like walls and bathrooms and stuff, that kind of paint. So the painter came and he painted, and I traded out and did an app for him. So he's showing before and after images. As well as just links. And he doesn't have a website. He's a painter. He's a one-man show. He's a painter. So I'm like, you can have a web presence. You just buy the domain. So he bought his domain. I have it linked to my photo app. He's got his before and after images. He can text this app to other people. When he does a quote, he can put it on there. And like I said, it's the same. You can do this for restaurants. You can have a whole nother side hustle just selling apps for other businesses, using your skills as a photographer and putting these apps together. And you can do a monthly, it can offset your monthly fee. You can actually make money on it.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I've done some charity work we used to do, and actually I was one of the celebrities dancing with our stars. Yeah.
I remember that. Didn't you pull a hamstring doing that?
Yeah. I pulled something. And the only reason I was the celebrity is because I was the photographer and I had done these photos, and one person had to back out, so they need someone to fill in. So I'm like, I'll do it. Yeah, but
Dan will fit the costume.
Oh, my beer, I got this. Yeah, yes. Set aside, Derek Huff. I got this. But it was a charity event for the American Red Cross, and we raised like a ton of money. And how that worked is they had a website, and we did all the headshots, and then we did the poster, and we promoted it. And each vote is $1 for a vote. So before the event, you would vote for it, and the person that had the most votes would win. So that was kind of that way. And I created the app where everyone could share the app, and then when they clicked on their photo, it would take them to the website, because you could put any link in there, and they could actually vote for them. Yeah. And it had the whole branding for American Red Cross and the voting, and I had the poster, and it was great marketing for me, because then the day of the event, they had images, all my images going up on the large screen, and then they threw the app up there, and it was just, cool. Yeah, it was so many cool things. And you can do the same thing for realtors. You can have homes that are high-end homes that you either do the photography for, the drone footage for, and they send that out as an app. Yeah.
That gives me an idea.
The realtors have to dance? Wait a minute, I lost it here.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
It's celebrity realtor dancing for homes, I believe.
Gotcha.
And then they donate to the Red Cross, and
it's free if they can tango with me. If they, yes.
Tango.
Or the cha-cha.
Cha-cha.
You are beautiful. You are like a fire that is born from the earth and is exploding on the stage.
What is that from?
That's the one judge. That was that one judge. I don't know his name.
From Dancing with the Stars, yeah.
Yeah.
Flamboyant guy, yeah.
I thought it was going to be from a movie or something. All right, so we're running long this week, but that's good because we got a lot of good stuff here. Real quick, any other things that people should look at? I'm going to throw a couple out here. Real quick, I'm not going to go into detail like Dan. Topaz. Topaz is something I use a fair amount. They have a lot of different software. I do not use Remask. It's one of those things that you could do for extraction. A lot of people swear by it. I could never get it to work for me. I end up using what? What's
Ben's shirts extraction
changer? Yeah, yes. Game changer. So you go to shirkphotography.com and you go to his professional stuff. You can download an action. If you do any green screen stuff, it's the one I swear by. It's the one Dan swears by. I don't know, Carl, do you use it too?
Absolutely do, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's $150, something like that. Oh my gosh, I have made so much money using that, and it's quick. And then the only other one I was going to bring up was Camtasia. So if you're doing any screen recording and doing any training, if you're doing advanced screen recording, Camtasia is great software for that. If you're doing very simple screen recording, Snag it. Yeah.
Snag it. Or if you're on a Mac, ScreenFlow,
Snap Pro Z. All those do very similar things, but all of them works.
I want to throw out like Animoto, which is It's not really a plugin, but for slideshows and video and marketing, like it's so easy. Yeah. You drop your images in, and that's what I'm going to use for these testimonials I talked about earlier. Is I just have my seniors giving me quick 2-minute little testimonials. They're just recording it on their phone, and I'm going to add text and use that video and throw their images in, and it's set to music. It's royalty. I mean, for the royalty-free music alone, it's worth it.
It's worth it.
Right.
It's like $250 a year or something.
Yeah, I think $249. Yeah.
And again, it's another one of those incentive items. It's like at a $2,000 order, they get the slideshow in there, which I keep trying to think of a better name than slideshow. But
the cinema experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh. Senior cinematic experience. There you go. Write that down because I don't remember it.
Cinematic session retrospective.
I can't even say that.
I'm surprised
I had a hard enough time
could.
saying senior cinematic experience.
By the way, if you've made it this far, I think we're all pretty much blotto by now.
I think we have to have ice cubes next time.
So
going back to the ice cubes.
Any last thoughts on software and apps? I mean, we didn't even really get into a lot of phone apps, but there's a lot of them out there. From like making your images square to put them on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. Any other thoughts, guys? Otherwise, we'll wrap it up with our sponsor.
There's this thing called Photoshop. It works pretty good too. We'll just leave it at that.
Oh, you know what? I was actually going to bring that up. You know what? Now, beyond Photoshop. So if you've got the Creative Cloud subscription, a lot of times people just think it's Photoshop and Lightroom, but I've got the whole dang thing. So I'm using Premiere, and I'm using our podcast is mixed in Audition. I use Adobe Stock. So actually all the promo images for the podcast are Adobe Stock, and I use that for composite images as well too. And Adobe Spark is something, we were talking about Fundy being good for doing like little promotional things. Adobe Spark works really well for that as well. So if you're doing little lay flats, little collages, little ads, Adobe Spark is a great little app that you use on your computer. Actually, you can use on your phone as well to create little promotional pieces. So, and they've got a lot of other stuff too. Illustrator, InDesign, all that kind of stuff. I guess that's
all I got to say about that.
And that's all I got to say about that. So this
apps are like a box of chocolates.
Something costs you $1.99 a month and you don't know what the hell you got. Anyway, so this episode has been brought to you by Pizza Beer. It's not just pizza with the beer, it's pizza beer, like in your dreams. Brewed in Chicago, of course. Pizza beer. Yeah. Beer that tastes like pizza. Or you could just get a pizza and you could get a beer and just call it good. That's all I got. So until next time, cheers to you.
Last call.
You've been listening to the Photo Happy Hour podcast. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to not miss a single action-packed episode. And join our Photo Happy Hour Facebook group where we'll post links to the stuff we all talk about. You can find my MoLight gear online at www.gomolight.com. That's GOMOLIGHT.com. You can find the Facebook page under MoLight Store, and I also run the Godox Flash Help Group on Facebook. You can find Dan's Senior Unlocked website at www.seniorsunlocked.com. That's seniors with an S at the end, unlocked.com. And the Facebook group under Seniors Unlocked. And you can find Carl's Coaching Corner at www.ccphotocoach.com, ccphotocoach.com. Till next time, cheers to you.
If you have enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and give this fellowship the highest possible rating. Do so with great haste. Fly, you fools!